It's really difficult to lose a significant amount of weight without a concerted effort. So today I'm going to share with you the 10 things that I did on my weight loss journey that helped me to lose 70 pounds in 9 months and 90 pounds overall. I lost so much belly fat, in fact, that I ended up having a tummy tuck after the first 70 pounds down because the loose skin was starting to impact my workouts. And the reason why I had so much belly fat to begin with was because I had a very poor diet. I was eating any and everything that looked like a processed sugar, and it was all landing in my midsection. I had no discipline about the things that I was eating. And so I started my weight loss journey with the 75 Hard Challenge, which is a discipline challenge. It's a mental toughness challenge, and it's designed to force you to make life sacrifices in order to complete the challenge. One of the tasks of the challenge is that you had to eat clean with no alcohol and no cheat meals. And so I decided that a cheat meal for me would be processed sugar. So when I started my weight loss journey, I basically quit sugar cold turkey, and I started to eat mostly whole, mostly unprocessed foods. And so by starting my weight loss journey with this discipline challenge, forcing me to really consider the things that I ate before I ate them, I was able to lose 30 pounds in the first 75 days. I went on to complete additional days of that challenge. And then one day I looked up and I had lost 70 pounds in 9 months. And so I really credit the 75 Hard Challenge with my weight loss success because I lack discipline, and not just in eating, but in other parts of my life as well. And so by completing this discipline challenge, just focusing on building that discipline muscle, the lessons that I learned from completing that challenge, I was able to carry through into other parts of my life that positively impacted my weight loss journey. And another thing that starting this challenge helped with was my scale addiction, because prior to the 75 Hard Challenge, I was a daily scale wearer. I would get on the scale every single day. If I didn't like the number, I moved the scale around the room. I'm sure you can probably relate to that. And I would let that scale dictate how I felt. I would let that scale dictate my mood. If I was down a few pounds, then hey, I was probably going to celebrate by eating something. If I was up a few pounds, then I was going to be down, and I was going to soothe that probably by eating something. And so just being a daily scale wearer really held me back a lot prior to the start of the 75 Hard Challenge and this weight loss journey. And so by starting that challenge, I decided that, you know what, my sole goal of this challenge is to finish the challenge. I don't care what the number on the scale says. You know, if I get to the end of the challenge and I finish the challenge, it was a success. And if I didn't lose not 1 pound, it was still a success as long as I finished the challenge. And so I took the pressure off of myself by not setting a weight loss goal when I started my weight loss journey. My only goal was to finish that challenge. In fact, the starting weight that I used of 218 pounds was how much I weighed the day before in the doctor's office. When I started my weight loss journey and I started the challenge day 1, I didn't even get on the scale. And if you're anything like me and you've started plenty of weight loss journeys, you know that what you do on day 1, the first thing you do on day 1 is you get on the scale. And I didn't even do that. I was so over the scale. I was so over letting it dictate my moves. And I was like, you know what? I've been a daily scale wearer all my life, and here I am yet again significantly overweight. Maybe it's time I do something different. And so I just put away the scale. I did get on it every 2 to 3 weeks or so. I did want to check my progress, but I will tell you, by breaking that daily scale habit, even though I was getting on the scale every 2 to 3 weeks or so, that number was just a number. It was just a data point, and it did not impact me whatsoever. I had no emotion tied to that number on the scale anymore. And I can tell you that really made all the difference in my weight loss journey, because I was then able to just simply focus on doing those good daily healthy habits like eating right and working out and drinking water and getting my sleep, and not really worrying about, okay, well, what are the results of those things? I just simply focused on doing those things, and then the results naturally came. 70 pounds in 9 months and 90 pounds overall. Now, although I didn't get on the scale, I did take a lot of progress photos, and the 75 Hard Challenge required you to do that. It required you to take a progress photo every single day. And so while I wasn't getting on the scale every day, I was taking that progress photo because I had to do so for the challenge. And at the end of the 75 days, I could look at my day 1 and day 75, and I could see a real difference. I mean, I was floored at how much I was able to accomplish in those 75 days just by focusing on these good daily healthy habits and not focusing on the scale. You know, prior to this weight loss journey, I was losing and regaining the same 5 pounds. And I wasn't really getting anywhere. And here I am not getting on the scale, and I'm following good daily habits without, you know, the stress of, am I really losing weight behind it? And then guess what? I lost weight. I lost, 30 pounds in 75 days. And that was when the light bulb went off for me. It's better to focus on the activities that will get you the result versus focusing on the result. And so when I did that, and by staying off the scale and taking these progress photos instead, I was able to see that what I was doing was actually working. Because that number on the scale will lie to you sometimes, especially if you're doing everything right and you're burning fat and you're building muscle at the same time. Your results actually will not register on the scale in terms of pounds lost. But if you're taking progress photos, like I took progress photos, you can clearly see a difference. There were times when, the scale would say I only lost 4 pounds that month, but I would look at my progress photos. Like, you could look at my before and my after for that month, and it looked like I had lost 15 to 20 pounds simply because I was burning fat and building muscle. I was getting leaner even though I wasn't necessarily dropping a lot of pounds. Another thing that really helped me to take my focus off the scale was to set a non-scale goal. And I talked about how my goal for the challenge was just simply to finish the challenge. And so I took the pressure off myself of, what that number on the scale was going to say, because it didn't matter to me. My goal was to finish the challenge, which had nothing to do with the scale. And so by doing that, I took that mental load off, and so it was easier for me to disconnect from the scale. Another goal that I set for myself was that I wanted to get back into running. The whole purpose of my weight loss journey was to get back into endurance runner. I used to be an endurance runner. I was running 5Ks and 10Ks and half marathons, and I wanted to get back to that sport, and I wanted to be competitive in my age group. So that was the whole purpose of me even losing weight to begin with. So by setting that non-scale goal and just working towards that, it really took the focus and the pressure off of the number on the scale. I just really didn't care anymore, because if I could get back to running and I could be competitive in my age group, and it only, I only lost 30 pounds, then so be it. I actually got down to about 180 pounds, and I was fine right there at 180 pounds. But because I was doing all the things right, I was eating right, I was getting in a little cardio, I was getting in a lot more strength training, my body actually continued to burn off the fat, and I went from 180 pounds to 148 pounds. That's how I ended up losing 70 pounds in 9 months. But I will tell you that, when I got to 180, I was completely happy right there, because it was the point where I could comfortably start to run again, because that was my whole goal. So setting that non-scale goal really helped to take the pressure off and take the focus off the scale, which is what I needed in order to just simply focus on doing the right things that would help me to lose the weight on my weight loss journey. And while we're on the topic of running, I'll tell you that movement was a really important part of my weight loss success. Walking, running, strength training, and walking is so underrated as a form of exercise for fat loss. I actually walked off the first 30 pounds, and a lot of people don't know that. They think that I ran the entire time. When I started the 75 Hard Challenge, I had to do do 2 workouts a day for 45 minutes each. And so I decided the easiest thing for me to do would be to walk both workouts. And so that's what I did. Now, what I found was that by walking both workouts, I got in about an average of 10,000 steps a day. There's that magical, 10,000 steps, but it worked, because I ended up losing 30 pounds in 75 days. And that was success that I hadn't seen before, doing endless amounts of cardio every single day. Now, after the first 75 days, I started to jog a little more, and then I got to running a little more, because remember, my goal was to get back to running. So I have to do a little less walking now and a little more running if I want to build up speed. And so I started to do these walk run exercises where I was doing just that. And then I also incorporated strength training into my routine. Now, I work out at home in my basement. I don't go to a gym, and people are surprised when I say that, because I started to strength train and I started out with just 3 sets of dumbbells, and that is all that it took in the comfort of my home. And so no, I didn't have to go into a commercial gym to get the success that I got. I was doing cardio, walking and jogging and running 3 to 4 times a week. And then I was strength training with these 3 sets of dumbbells 4 to 5 times a week. And that was my exercise routine. And just by being consistent with that routine, I managed to lose 70 pounds in 9 months. And if you want a glimpse into what my schedule actually looked like every week, click on the link in the video description and download a copy of that, because I share with you, exactly what I was doing week in and week out that helped me to lose 70 pounds in 9 months and 90 pounds overall from the comfort of my home. And I will tell you, if I can do it, you can do it as well. So if you're interested in that, click on the link in the video description and download a copy of my schedule. Now, I started this video by saying that I had no discipline about the things that I was eating, and that's how I got up to 218 pounds. Well, when I started the challenge and I got to day 1, I was like, you know what? I really need to focus on the things that I'm eating. And so I went to the TDEE calculator, I plugged in my information, and I looked at what my macro targets should be. I decided that I wasn't going to simply count calories. I really wanted to focus on eating more protein. So I used this calculator to figure out exactly how much protein I should be eating. And I put this information into MyFitnessPal. I put the goals for my protein, my carbs, and my fats into MyFitnessPal, and I started tracking my macros every day. And this really helped me to see in black and white exactly what I was eating. And by doing this, I was able to really start to hone in on what I was eating and see things like, where's the hidden sugar? Where's the unhealthy fat in some of the foods that I was eating? And I know a lot of people don't like to track what they eat. They just want to wing it. I will tell you that one of the best things that I could have done for the success of my weight loss journey was to track everything that I put into my mouth. Because when I got to a certain target, I stopped eating. I knew that I couldn't eat anything else once I hit those targets for the day. I was able to track natural sugars and hidden sugars in my food, and MyFitnessPal actually gave me a limit for sugar as well. And so as long as I wasn't hitting that sugar limit, I was good every day. Those were my goals: to hit my protein target and to not go over my sugar target every day. And the only way that I could make sure I did that was to track the food that I was eating. Now, once I lost the first 30 pounds and I started to run more and I started to strength train, I realized that I had to be a little bit more strategic about what I was eating and when, because I was burning significantly more calories running and strength training than I was walking twice a day in the first 75 days. And so I really had to figure out, okay, what is the best approach to make sure I am still eating enough that I'm not going into such a severe calorie deficit that I'm slowing down my weight loss, that I'm still hitting my protein targets, that I'm still fueling these workouts and I can push through these workouts. And I came up with this process where I was following build days and burn days. And on build days, those were the days that I was strength training. I was still hitting my protein targets, but I was eating a few more carbs to make sure I could power through those strength training workouts. And then on my burn days, those days I was still hitting my protein targets, but those days were about maximizing my calorie deficit. And by following this build burn strategy for my nutrition and my exercise, it was like pouring gasoline on a fire for fat loss. Because, after the first 75 days where I lost 30 pounds, I wasn't sure that I was going to lose any more weight. But because I, switched up to this strategy and I kept going with my good nutrition and the exercise, I ended up losing another 40 pounds. I lost 70 pounds total in 9 months. And then I kept going with it and lost a total of 90 pounds. The strategy actually works. And so I was really glad that I put some thought into that and really tried to be strategic with how I went about this weight loss journey, because it was almost like a shortcut to burning fat and building muscle and getting me to my goals a whole lot faster. And one of the things that I really had to remember throughout the course of my weight loss is that it was progress over perfection. In past weight loss journeys, if I messed up with the meal or if I skipped a workout, then I would just throw up my hands and quit. I had set out this grandiose plan that I was going to follow, and if I didn't follow it to a T, then oh my gosh, I was a failure, and just why even bother? Just, go back to doing what you were doing before. And what I figured out, what I learned, and what I practiced through this weight loss journey was that no, you don't, throw in the whole towel simply because you messed up with one meal. You get back on track with the next meal. You don't say, oh my gosh, I was a failure, and quit because you missed one workout. Well, you can make up the workout, or you just start again with the next workout on the schedule. Why ruin all of your past progress just for one indiscretion? Like, don't throw away the progress that you've made simply because you aren't perfect. Because the process doesn't require you to be perfect. It just simply requires you to show up every single day and give it a try. And the people that do that and do that consistently find that they get results. And the people that try to be perfect, like I tried to be perfect, a lot before this weight loss journey, simply gave up. And that is how I ended up back at 218 pounds. But this time around, I've just decided, you know what? You can't be perfect. You won't be perfect. It doesn't require you to be perfect. Just keep going. That's all it really takes. Because, there's something to be said about recognizing your rock bottom. There's something to be said about recognizing the fact that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. What do I do next? And, you don't necessarily realize in that moment that you're at rock bottom. You just know that something has to give. Something has to change. And I was there. When I went to the doctor the day before I started my weight loss journey, she really laid into me. She told me all the things that I already knew. She wasn't very nice about it. And it just, something just lit a fire into me. I remember her telling me she was going to refer me to a registered dietitian, but I couldn't get in with the dietitian until next week. And, before I would have been like, oh, okay, well, I'll just, wait around until I can get in with the dietitian, and then I'll start my weight loss journey. But no, it was just something about the way she was very direct and very not nice to me that made me realize you ain't got another day to wait. You gotta go right now. And I started my weight loss journey on the next day. It was a Thursday. Who starts a weight loss journey on a Thursday? What is the day that we start weight loss journeys? Monday. But I couldn't even wait till Monday. I was like, you know what? I got to go right now. And when I look back, that was my rock bottom. And that was how I knew that it was time to make a change. I was fed up with being fed up, and I knew that I had to go. Something had to give. And so I always say there is just something to be said about that feeling that you get. You know when you know that it is time to go. Do not ignore that feeling. Don't put it off. Don't dismiss it. When it's time to go, just go. I really hope that by me sharing the 10 things that really helped me on my weight loss journey, you too can find some inspiration in them to start or to continue your own weight loss journey. It's not easy, especially for us women over 40. Our bodies are changing, things are starting to slow down, and it's just not as easy to stay in shape as it was when we were in our 20s and our 30s. But if we put in the effort and we put in the focus, and it's the basics of things, eat right and exercise, it still actually works. So if it has been helpful to you, take a moment and give the video a thumbs up so other women just like you can find it as well. And just a reminder, if you're interested in my workout schedule, click on the link in the video description and download your free copy of that. And if you haven't joined the Get Fit community yet, I would love to have you here. Take a moment and hit the subscribe button so that I can continue to make more great content just like this, just for you. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.